Feminine magnetism. I know in my bones all women have it, but I also know that we are so skilled at covering it up, even if that's a subconscious covering. Can you define feminine magnetism for us and what healthy feminine magnetism looks like in action?
Absolutely. And I love that question about what it looks like in action, because I would say that's almost the easiest thing to define, which is that it's very inbound, right? When you're really standing in your self and you have a strong sense of self and you're deeply rooted in your worth, your intrinsic value as a human. But here we're talking about feminine magnetism, and yes, you know, of course, everybody, all genders have access, you know, to that feminine principle. But, you know, it's very much around then being in the flow and having a beautiful inbound flow of what it is that you desire. And it sounds like really simple, but of course it requires a lot of being, it requires embodiment, and it requires creation of space. And there's a tremendous amount of trust that needs to be felt in oneself, in life, in one's own ability to be able to discern the right opportunities, the right people, the right flow as well. And so a lot of the time, you know, when I'm working with people, what we're realizing, again, coming back to this idea of blocks, you know, I think most women, you know, are deeply rooted in a sense of feminine magnetism at an innate level, but they're blocking it. Why? Because there's a tremendous amount of fear a lot of the time about what might happen, you know, if they open, you know, the doors to their heart and they allow themselves to be fully seen, you know, the visibility piece, but also fully felt, because it's a feeling, like the feminine is felt, right?
A couple things come up. I've been working with someone and she keeps telling me, you have got to let people give. You're always trying to do. You know, if somebody asks you a question, you will answer and then immediately ask the question back because you're curious. It comes from a good place, but you have got to get in the practice of receiving love from other people without trying to give it back. And that was a big aha moment for me. Because I'm not good at simply receiving. I always, like, my heart is to want to give back and to keep the conversation going, but I'm practicing actively now, accepting that love or that attention without some kind of reciprocity. The second thing that came up, I have an example of female magnetism, and I remember this like it was yesterday. So it's a juxtaposition. My freshman year of high school, before I had experienced like deep pain and deep trauma, I was a magnet for everything. It was, but I came out of the chute. I was confident. I was friendly. I had no fear in talking to older people and talking to my peers. I just loved everyone. I loved being in relationships. I loved going after what I wanted. So if I wanted to be in a certain club in school, I would just try out and go for it and see what happened. I had just very, very little fear. So I felt like I was very much in my feminine magnetism. Then fast forward to my freshman year of college, post trauma, post deep pain. And I remember being at a club my freshman year of college and feeling like I was invisible. And I was like, I know that I'm here, but I can feel that no one else feels my presence. And that is within me. And I was, 19 years old, and I didn't know how to articulate it at the time. And I certainly didn't know how to fix it, but I knew what it felt like to turn that power off. And it feels like a void.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Like going against our natural nature.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And I think that so many women walk through life with that cloak of invisibility,
Mm.
going against
Mm.
their nature, or going against their strengths, or how life can actually be a lot more easy and flowing, by wearing that cloak of invisibility. Usually is a safety mechanism, as a coping mechanism, and I'm a big proponent of, celebrating self-protection at the time when it's necessary,
Mm-hmm.
but then also recognizing when it is outdated.
Oh, yes. I feel like that's such a big aha moment. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because I think there is a really big difference. Like, there are times in life where it's okay to hibernate, to draw back. I'm a songwriter too. I can't remember if I told you that, but I have this song that I wrote called Poet in the Woods. I haven't released it, but it's that whole concept of like, I needed to heal and I needed to withdraw in order to do that. And there is a time and a place for that. But then with going back to what you said about awareness, there's also a time and a place where you go, okay, this withdrawing is no longer serving me. I've stopped expanding in this moment. I've stopped growing. So now what do I need to do to get into a place of expansion and growth again? And that requires the taking off of the cloak.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you've been wearing that cloak for a long time, like it can be scary, or it can be a little rusty,
Terrifying.
or you might also, again, like coming back to self-worth, be feeling like, do I even, do I deserve the love? Do I deserve the attention or the accolades, depending obviously on the context, what we're working in. Do I deserve to be seen and to be enjoyed?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Every person on this planet deserves that.